Maybe we're back. Maybe we're not. Let's find out. Are we online? Donut time. Osman, or am I streaming? I can't tell. It almost looks like for some reason the stream is not coming through very well. Twitch says I'm offline. Twitch says I'm not streaming. YouTube says I'm streaming. Stream says, eh? Who knows? Try turning Twitch off and on again. Maybe Twitch. That's okay, you don't need to check Twitch. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. This is still trying to determine the quality. Let's just go to twitch.tv/architecture and let's see. I think I'm streaming. Nope. That's an old video. It says I'm offline on Twitch. Okay, well, I don't know what's up with that. Did I solve the problems on the owl? Yes, I did. Watching the video, making area and selection problems. I'm not sure what you're referring to. So I'm just going to put in here real quick. Like Twitch is not receiving stream. So check YouTube link to watch. Alright. And with that, we're just going to go ahead and get started again.
The thick of it now. Level 3 of the beginner donut series. We're not actually going to be doing anything with the donut in this level. Instead, we're going to be making something new, which is a coffee cup which is in level 3 going to be put into a scene with our donut for a final render. But I mean, the whole point of this coffee cup is that it's like, it's a little bit more precise and it's like hard surface, and because the donut's a little loosey-goosey, and I want to give you like the tools and the techniques that you can apply to something in the future. So this will allow us to like, yeah, talk about extrusion and like modeling things to reference photos, etc. So yeah, we're gonna have some fun. And yes, I got a beard. Not sure if you noticed. First time I've ever had a beard, but yeah, I was in Korea and Japan for like a couple of weeks. And,
yeah, we got that solved. I think he was just using a shortcut.
when I came home, I'm by myself, and I thought, why not just be lazy and not shave? And then it started out as laziness, and then I'm like, yeah, let's see what
I think
this
that
trade
was,
goes. Let's see how it looks. I've never
He was
had
using
it before, but
shortcuts, and the other issue was that he had applied his
it's become
subsurface.
like
So I think between that and some editing magic, we got
let
it
me
figured
know.
out.
All right, so let's start by adding in a reference photo of a coffee cup. So we're going to be using this image. So the link for this is in the description.
All right, let's download that image. Or do I want to do it? No, let's just stick with what he's got. There's no reason. Photo reference. Here we go. Download. Save image as. Let's put this in. Oh, right there. Right.
And to add in any object into Blender, it is of course Shift A. And let me first of all make sure my screencast tools is turned on. That's my goal for this level 3. Everyone told me in the comments, make sure your like the key press tool is turned on because you keep forgetting it. I'm like, yes.
Oh yeah, I should
about
probably
it.
turn that on too. Let's just go ahead and screencast keys. Already on? Screencast keys. There we go. Hey, there it is. Although it seems like it's kind of out here. I guess, being bad. It's being bad. Okay.
Anyway, Shift A. An image, the one you're looking for is reference. Background will add it into like part of the viewport or something. Reference will actually make it its own separate object, which is what we want. So reference. Okay, and by the way, I'm using Blender 2.81 beta version, which is why this is now like it file browsers its own pop-up window now. So that's actually really good. But anyway, that's why mine's probably different to yours. Anyway, select the image, and the one thing before you add it in is just at the top there, you'll see a checkbox that says Align to View. Yours, by the way, could be anywhere, could be on the left-hand side or whatever, but find that checkbox and uncheck it, and then hit Load Reference Image. Ta-da! Okay, so we're modeling it off this reference, okay? So it's important that this actually matches the axes, like it's essentially like number pad 1, I want the image to be facing this direction, like front on to the front, okay? So looking at it here, because this is a physical object that you can grab and move like any other object, I can rotate it. So I'm gonna hit R, and then X after that to rotate just on the X axis. And then you see in the very top left-hand corner, you've actually got the rotation amount. So I want that to be exactly 90 degrees, which I can get by holding down Control, and that will snap to 5-degree
Or you
increments.
can just type in
By
90.
the way, side tip, you can also just type in the number 90,
There you go.
and that will also do it as well. Anyways, there you go. Okay, so it's rotated face the front, which is nice. And then I'm going to scale this down, which of course you do with S. So S, and then click and drag this down. So I want this size of my coffee cup to be, I mean, basically just in relation to the donut. Like how big is a coffee cup? Like which is bigger, a donut, like the diameter of a donut, or the rim of a coffee cup? Well, the first, like the donut that I filmed and I showed you in the previous videos, that's like the first time I've actually held a donut since I was a child. And I was actually surprised at how small donuts are. I'm like, I thought these were a lot bigger. I'm not sure if I got bigger or the donuts got smaller, or a little column A, little column B. My point is I think actually a coffee cup rim, especially like a coffee cup like this, I think it's a lot wider than a donut. So probably something like that. Yeah. How does that look in relation to the donut? That looks about right.
Yeah, I
that'll
think
be fine.
that's what I'm going to
So
do.
now,
is-
say goodbye to the donut temporarily. With the donut collection there, I'm just going to uncheck that box, which will hide it from the render and the viewport so that we can just focus on the coffee cup for the rest of the series. Okay, lovely. So let's move this up until just like the bottom of the plate is touching the bottom of the plane here, okay? All right, now we want to add in an object which is going to become our coffee cup. So Shift A to add in any new object, mesh, and of course you want to select the object which most resembles what it is you want to model. And in this case, of course, that's a cylinder. Ta-da! So the cylinder, right out of the gate, way too big. So let's dial back the radius to be something smaller and the depth as well, just to be something. I mean, it doesn't really matter. We're going to scale it to match soon. The main value, excuse me, the main value is the vertices. You just want that to be 32 because that just happens. I mean, the default just happens to be almost the exact amount you need. So 32 it is. All right, now that we've got that, I am going to, in front view mode, I'm just going to move this up, this cylinder up until the very top of it is just touching the top of the reference photo, right? Where the rim is on the reference photo. Okay, and then by the way, make sure let's get this actually like right in the center of the reference image there, like that. Okay, and then I want to scale this to make it thicker, but you'll see if I scale it, then I got to like resize the top of it and like move it around again. But if I scale it on everything but the Z axis, which you can do by hitting Shift Z after scaling, you can see it's now moving it on the X and the Y, but not the Z axis, which is exactly what we want. Now you'll see that it's actually covering the reference photo, which isn't good. So if you hold down Z, by the way, shortcuts, of course, as I've said 100 times, get my PDF. You won't have to memorize all these hotkeys. It's all, I put time and effort into that PDF so that you don't have to memorize all this. The link for that is in the description. Anyway, Z will bring up this pie menu of all the options. We're looking for wireframe, so that makes it invisible. And now I'm just going to position this so that it is about there. Let's scale along everything but the Z axis, make it a little bit thicker. I'm just making sure that aligns up and that lines up along the top there. Okay, cool. So we've got the top pretty well done and it's the right thickness. Now let's start shaping out the coffee cup. So this bottom here in edit mode, so tab to go into edit mode or just at the top there, edit mode. And then I'm going to select the bottom vertices, which you can drag over like that, or hold down Alt and left click, which is the way I recommend because we're going to do this a lot through this this series. So Alt left click will select any edge loop. And Siri thought I was saying something. Nope. Thank you. Useless. I swear, like 99 times out of 100, Siri thinks you say something and you didn't. Right? I even just said Siri then, and she doesn't even recognize it, but apparently something to do with vertices, and that's what triggers it. Anyway, so select that, and I'm going to scale that in with S. Scale in, and you know this reference photo isn't perfect, but no.
Let's see. I think you just selected the bottom there.
Which is the way I missed that because we're going to do this a lot through this series. So Alt left click will select any edge loop, and Siri thought I was saying something. Nope. Thank you. Useless. I swear, like 99 times out of 100, Siri thinks you say something and you didn't. Right? I even just said Siri then, and she doesn't even recognize it, but apparently something to do with vertices, and that's what triggers it. Anyway, so select that, and I'm going to scale that in with S. Scale in, and you know this reference photo isn't perfect, but no reference photo ever is. It would be great if this reference photo was like with a camera with a long lens far back, so that it was like flat on, but it's not. You've got a little bit of perspective, so you've got like the top of the rim there, but then you've also got like you can see the opening of this plate there. Point is it's hard to actually see where the bottom of this coffee cup actually stops because it's hidden and whatever. So anyway, I think somewhere about there, the camera with a long lens far back in, and nope. This bottom here in edit mode, so tab to go into edit mode or just at the top there, edit mode, and then I'm going to select the bottom vertices,
yeah, I guess
drag
that works.
over like that, or hold down Alt and left click, which is the way I recommend because we're going to do this a lot through this series. So Alt left click will select any edge loop, and Siri thought I was saying something. Nope. Thank you. Useless. I swear, like 99 times out of 100, Siri thinks you say something and you didn't. Right? I even just said Siri then, and she doesn't even recognize it, but apparently something to do with vertices, and that's what triggers it. Anyway, so select that, and I'm going to scale that in with S. Scale in, and you know this reference photo isn't perfect, but no reference photo ever is. It would be great if this reference photo was like with a camera with a long lens far back, so that it was like flat on, but it's not. You've got a little bit of perspective, so you've got like the top of the rim there, but then you've also got like you can see the opening of this plate there. Point is it's hard to actually see where the bottom of this coffee cup actually stops.
Fair enough.
Because it's hidden and whatever. So anyway, I think somewhere about there will be fine. Yeah, roughly like that. Now let's start adding in more edge loops, which you can do with Control R. And you'll remember we did this, I think, with the icing stage. So the first, like the yellow line, is like a temporary line asking you where do you want to put this detail. So that's where we want it. So click. And then the second question it's asking you is where do you want to place this? So it's sliding it along there. So I actually want to place these in line with like where the handles, the top, bottom of each of the handle in points, out points, right? Because when we actually model the handle, we're going to use
mine's
detail
backwards.
from
That's funny.
this, what we're doing now, to actually add it in. So anyways, I just want to add one in like right there. So click, and then I'm going to scale. And I'm just going to scale it until it matches the reference photo. Pretty simple. And I'm going to do it again, Control R, click, move it up to be just the top of this handle here, scale out. Let's do it again, Control R, click, and down here. All right, this is very simple. And then one more just for the top of this handle here. Scale it out very slightly, like so. And then as you know, one more right down the bottom there as well, because I think like toward the bottom of the coffee
I
cup,
missed
which is
one.
the
Let's
reference
see.
photo. Pretty simple. And then do it again, Control R, click, move it up to be just the top of this handle here, scale out. Let's do it again, Control R, click, and down here. All right, this is very simple. And then one more just for the top of this handle here. Scale it out very slightly, like so. And then... G'day! You're in the thick of it now?
Yep.
Level 3 of the beginning.
Back to where I was.
Like it really tapers in, and so I want it to look like nice and smooth down there. Okay, solid view, pretty simple. And I'm gonna do it again, Control R, click, move it up to be just the top of this handle here, scale out. Let's do it again, Control R, click, and down here. All right, this is very simple. And then one more just for the top of this handle here, scale it out very slightly, like so. And then as you know, one more right down the bottom there as well, because I think like toward the bottom of the coffee cup, like it really tapers in, and so I want it to look like nice and smooth down there. Okay, solid view mode. And that's how it looks. Pretty good. Now, biggest obvious thing is it's got a face.
Bring that out. Not like that.
You know, one more right down the bottom there as well, because I think like toward the bottom of the coffee cup, like it really tapers in, and so I want it to look like nice and smooth down there. Okay, solid view mode. And that's how it looks. Pretty good. Now, biggest obvious thing is it's got a face at the top there, so we want it to be an opening. So in edit mode, I'm going to select this top ring here with holding down Alt and select, and then I'm going to hit X, and I'm just going to remove that face. So X is delete, by the way. Delete face. There we go. Okay, cool. So all is well and good, but we need to give it some thickness. Now, can you remember the modifier that will give your coffee cup thickness? If you can remember it, do it now. I don't know. Be like a teacher, right, at school, like trying to force the students to learn things. She's doing her best, you know, but nobody wants to learn. They just want the answers. The answer is the solidify modifier.
Yay.
We did it for the icing, you'll remember. But anyway, it just adds thickness to any face, essentially. So anyway, now this thickness amount here is obviously important. That's the thickness of the glass. And it's really fiddly, this, right? Like I'm holding down Shift, which is how you move things on like even smaller increments than default, but it's still really fiddly. So it's actually easier if I just like type in like 2 millimeters. That's easier for me. And if you're using the imperial measurements, you can type in like, what would it be? Like
one's pretty close there for the thickness, I think.
But anyway,
that's what I'm
2
gonna
millimeters,
do.
that's the one I'm going to do. I mean, just basically in reference to like the scale of the coffee cup, you want to see about that.
Let's see what
So
2 millimeters looks like.
that's pretty good. Now, if we right click and we go shade smooth, you'll see that it looks like a coffee cup, but a couple problems. This top lip here, you've got some weird
I like
shading.
the
and then
0.01
also you've got
better.
some jagged edges along here. Both problems can be fixed by giving it more geometry to work with.
I'm gonna fiddle with this a little bit because I feel that it might actually be a little bit thicker. Right. So then I think you did smooth shading.
The measurements you would do, but anyway, 2 millimeters, that's the one I'm going to use. I mean, just basically in reference to like the scale of the coffee cup, you want it to be about that thick. So anyway, that's pretty good. Now, if we right click and we go shade smooth, you'll see that it looks like a coffee cup, but a couple of problems. This top lip here, you've got some weird shading, and then also you've got some jagged edges along here. Both problems can be fixed by giving it more geometry to work with. And that introduces the most common modifier of all. Can you remember what that one is? That is, of course, the subdivision surface modifier, which basically smooths out detail, adds in detail, and makes things look round and supple and how it's supposed to be in the world. So yeah, subdivision surface. And remember these amounts here, the render amount, like if you change this, nothing will change in the viewport because that's the render amount, only visible when you render. Viewport will actually change how it appears right here. So I'm going to go with 2 for both of those. I don't really know what quality does. Quality is like a new, I'm old school. Blender didn't used to have a quality option, and now it does, and don't care for it. I don't like it. I'm not going to touch it. So anyways, now this top of the cup here, you'll see like it's a little smooth, right? I mean, not like you could like cut your lip on it, but it's a little like thin at the top there. And most rims of, especially like glass, it's actually thicker at the top. And the reason this is happening is that if you look in edit mode, you've got like, it's going from there to there, like it's trying to do that operation. It's averaging out those amounts from that distance. So anyway, point is, we need to add in Control R, another loop cut right at the top there, just to give like some firmness to that rim there. Okay, pretty good. And then the other thing I'm going to do, let's just quickly hide the plane here so we can get underneath it. And I'll hide that as bridging out those amounts from that distance. So anyway, point is, we need to add in Control R, another loop cut right at the top there, just to give like some firmness to that rim there.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, pretty good. And then the other thing I'm going to do, let's just quickly hide the plane here so we can get underneath it. And I'll hide that as well. You can see we get this ugly, like tapered star looking bottom. Just looks horrible. The reason it's happening is that you've got actual geometry going into like one giant face, and it doesn't know, like it's just physically impossible for it to like try to convert all, like what would that be? Yeah, 32 faces into one face, and it's just like things are going haywire. So a very quick fix for this is to just hide it into a smaller shape, which you can do by hitting I, which is kind of like adding in a loop cut almost like into itself. And when you do that, it has that look. And you can see it's smaller now, it's still visible. So you can do it again, and that'll like make it disappear almost entirely. So there you go. And that's the adding in a loop cut, one giant face, and it doesn't know, like it's just physically impossible for it to like try to convert all, like what would that be? Yeah, 32 faces into one face, and it's just like things are going haywire. So a very quick fix for this is to just hide it into a smaller shape, which you can do by hitting I, which is kind of like adding in a loop cut almost like into itself. And when you do that, it has that look. And you can see it's smaller now, it's still visible. So you can do it again, and that'll like make it disappear almost entirely. So there you go. And that's the coffee cup really. Actually, in fact, I just thought about this, but like, you know, in the reference photo, bringing that back, yeah, it looks like it's like really smooth.
Can't get mine that small.
Really smooth, but of course, it would have to have like a firm bottom to it because you would be able to like put it on something, right? Actually, in fact, I just thought about this, but now it's still visible. So you're adding in a loop cut almost like into.
Can't get it. Who is that, by the way? Just so that I know. Inset faces, okay. I wonder if I just need my mouse like out here to begin with. Yeah, that's what it is. Okay, so if I start it here, like I don't have that much to play with, but if I start the cursor out here, then I can go smaller. And then he did his again.
To itself, and
go
when you do
even
that,
smaller.
it has that look. And you can see it's smaller now, it's still visible. So you can do it again, and that'll like make it disappear almost entirely. So there you go. And that's the coffee cup really. Actually, in fact, I just thought about this, but like, you know, in the reference photo, bringing that back, yeah, it looks like it's like really smooth, right? Really smooth, but of course, it would have to have like a firm bottom to it because you would be able to like put it on something, right? So I don't know, I just realized like it probably makes sense for us to have like a bit of a hard flat surface. So I'm just gonna like scale this out a little bit and make that a little bit something like that. There you go. That's like a hard little bottom to it. Something, I don't know. That's pretty good. All right, so we've made headway. We've talked for 15 minutes and we've modeled the start of our coffee cup. So in the next video, which you can click there to watch, we're going to be adding in the handles of our coffee cup. So I will see you in the next video. This tutorial series is brought to you by Polygon. Make better renders faster.
Okay.
Welcome back.
I think I actually need to be
We're gonna
bigger.
adding a hand.
I'm gonna piddle with this for a little bit before I move on to the next video there. going to take this, I'm going to scale it out just a teeny bit. This one and scale it out just a little bit also. That looks all right. Yeah, I'm happy with that. Let's save this.
Handle to
And
our
continue.
cup. I'm going to call it a cup, not a mug. It feels wrong. It's made of glass. You can't call it a mug. That's crazy talk. So we're going to add a handle to our cup. So we want to, you remember we added these edge loops at specifically the right point for our handle because we're going to extrude it out. But if you look from like top down mode, you'll see that like that face there, it's actually kind of pointing like in this direction, whereas we really want it to be pointing exactly on that, that direction, right? So make sure that tool is turned on, and let me turn off the annotations to remove, there we go. So what I want to do is in edit mode, that face there, I just want to rotate. So I'm in top view mode, I'm just looking down, I'm just going to rotate it until it's basically, in fact, that was perfect. How did I do that? I didn't hold that control or anything.
I see.
Nail it. I'm that good that that's basically a straight line. Well done me, but you know, just get it as close as you can. Doesn't really matter all that much.
Did you rotate the whole thing then?
Okay, so I'm in top view mode. I'm just looking down. I'm just going to rotate it until it's basically, in fact, that was
the whole thing. Okay.
perfect. How did I do that? I didn't hold that control or anything. I just happened to nail it. I'm that good that that's basically a straight line. Well done me, but you know, just get it as close as you can. Doesn't really matter all that much. But something like that. Okay, so we're going to be taking that face and we're going to be extruding it out. But first, before we do that, because this is made of like, you know, this coffee cup, it's made of glass, and this is going to be like going out, and this is going to be made of solid glass. But we obviously, if we were to extrude this out like this, then you would actually see like on the inside of this cup, we would see like a hole there where like the tube of it is going around, because it's going to apply the solidifier to the inside of the handle as well, which we don't want. So essentially, we need to apply our solidifier modifier before we start extruding. So go ahead and hit apply on the solidifier modifier, like that. Okay. So now I've done that, I can select the face select mode.
I see. So we need to apply this. But I can't do that in that mode. Apply. Then back in here.
Mode there. I'm going to select that face, and then in front view mode, number pad 1, I'm going to hit E, and that's just taking that face and it is extruding it outwards. Okay, now this is where it's just like copying the reference as best you can. So you can see like at this first point, oh, hang on. It's going to be hard to do this because it's like covering it at the same time. But there's like a little bit, it's kind of like a lip that's like sticking out. So I think right there is for the first extrusion. That's pretty good. And then I'm going to hit E again to about wherever. And then I'm going to hit R to rotate to about there. And then I'm going to switch to vertice selection mode just so that I can select these two vertices. And I want this to now become the sort of tapered part of the handle now. So somewhere about there perhaps. Okay. And then I'll extrude this out. And by the way, I just want to check. Okay, you got both sides of it. That's good. In fact, you know what? I'm just going to move this. There we go. Just so that I can actually see the full, you know, both sides of it without having to peek in back and forth. Anyway, like about
scale
wherever.
also.
And then I'm going to hit R to rotate to about there. And then I'm going to switch to vertice selection mode just so that I can select these two vertices. And I want this to now become the sort of tapered part of the handle now. So somewhere about there perhaps. Okay. And then I'll extrude this out. And by the way, I just want to check. Okay, you got both sides of it. That's good. In fact, you know what? I'm just going to move this. There we go. Just so that I can actually see the full, you know, both sides of it without having to peek in back and forth. Anyway, like that. Okay, that's good. And then I'm just going to extrude again. Now, you could continue this like extrusion, rotate, but there's actually a tool called the spin tool, which will actually save us some time on this. So if you hit T to bring up the toolbar, if it's not already active, there it is, spin right there. So what spin will do is it will actually rotate, it'll spin, like it'll do an extrusion spin based on wherever your 3D cursor is. So we essentially want to move our 3D cursor to right here where my cursor is, like right in the middle of the handle. So if you hold down Shift and then right click, that is your 3D cursor. So right about there. And then if you were to click and drag, I don't know why it does this. I'm assuming it's a bug in the 2.8 version. But when you click and drag, for whatever reason, it's just like it's done the spin operation, but it's done it like right there, and it hasn't spun it around like it's supposed to. But if you go this little pop up menu thing here, just change this angle, just increase this amount, and then it will actually start spinning. I don't know why they made it a tool, but then like it doesn't actually spin.
Nice. Okay. Well, let's do. We actually want to go back to face mode here. Oh, I didn't select the other one, the other side there. So I need to undo all that moving and stuff. I actually want to move this back. Go. Instead of the other way around. See. So I'm going to turn X-ray on because I feel like part of our issue, not all the way up. All right, so we need to take this, which I should have both of those grabbed now. And let's see, we're going to go up. I'm going to take this one up. So spin, nope, not that. Spin, which is shift spacebar. Okay, so he just talked about this.
Spin tool, which will actually save us some time on this. So if you hit T to bring up the toolbar, if it's not already active, there it is, spin right there. So what spin will do is it will actually rotate, it'll spin, like it'll do an extrusion spin based on wherever your 3D cursor is. So we essentially want to move our 3D cursor to right here where my cursor is, like right in the middle of the handle. So if you hold down Shift and then right click, that is your 3D cursor. So right about there. And then if you were to click and drag, I don't know why it does this. I'm assuming it's a bug in the 2.8 version. But when you click and drag, for whatever reason, it's just like it's done the spin operation, but it's done it like right there, and it hasn't spun it around like it's supposed to. But if you go this little pop down, pop up menu thing here, just change this angle, just increase this amount, and then it will actually start spinning. I don't know why they made it a tool, but then like it doesn't actually spin. It has to be a bug. There's no way it's supposed to operate like that, I'm guessing. Anyway, it could be.
I really want to get a little bit closer to what he's showing here. Oh my goodness. I think I'm just going to kind of manipulate some stuff here. I think I'm going for too much for perfection there. That can only mean one thing. Good enough for me.
Totally wrong. Maybe I'm doing it wrong. But anyways, that's how that works. Now you can see that this is slightly off, right? Like this here. So you can actually change this center value here and get this to line up a little bit closer. So something like that. Maybe the Z axis is a little bit off as well. Just want to fool around with it a little bit. But yeah, I mean, as best as you can. It doesn't really matter. The cool thing about it is that you've got these steps here. So you can like change how high resolution you want this this part to be. So that's pretty good. So now I've done that spin operation once. Now I'm just going to start moving these by hand to just get them to, you know, line up as best you can. Doesn't have to be perfect, but however best you can. Right, so about there, and I'm just going to extrude this again. That's really all this is. This handle part, it's a lesson in extrusion. Right there. I don't know that if I was supposed to sound clever. A lesson in extrusion. Sounds like it's like a proverb or something, but it's just dumb. All right, so now we've come to the point where they have to join together, right? So we have two faces that need to go, that face and that face. So select the face, hit X, and then faces, X, faces. Okay. Part, it's a little bit, but yeah, I mean, as best as you can. It doesn't really matter. The cool thing about it is that you've got these steps here, so you can like change how high resolution you want this this part to be. So that's pretty good. So now I've done that spin operation once. Now I'm just going to start moving these by hand to just get them to, you know, line up as best you can. Doesn't have to be perfect, but however best you can. Right, so about there, and I'm just going to extrude this again. That's really all this is. This handle.
Right. All right.
Handle part, it's a lesson in extrusion. Right there. I don't know that if I was.
Right, so to about right here is what we're trying to get.
To sound clever. A lesson in extrusion. Sounds like it's like a proverb or something, but.
All right, so. Oop. That's not what I meant to do. Okay, let's see.
It's just dumb. All right, so now we've come to the point where they have to join together, right? So we have two faces that need to go, that face and that face. So select the face, hit X, and then faces, X, faces. Okay. Now, so what we want to do is if we took this and then those four there, we can add a face just by hitting F, right? And that will add a face. And we could do that all the way around. But actually, if you just want to save time on all this, I can just Alt-click and then Alt-Shift-click to select that one there as well. And then if I hit F3 and type in bridge, it will actually cleverly do that for us, right? All the way around. So we've just saved ourselves a little bit of time there. And it's done the bridge operation for us. And look at that. We now have a nice looking coffee cup. Ta-da! Now, it's a little cleverly do that for us, right? All the way around. Now, so what we want to do is if we took this and then those four there, we can add a face just by hitting F, right? And that will add a face. And we could do that all the way around. But actually, if you just want to save time on all this, I can just Alt-click and then Alt-Shift-click to select that one there as well. And then if I hit F3 and type in bridge, it will actually cleverly do that for us, right? All the way around. So we've just
Called bridge, but like I have no. Okay, don't. No. F3 bridge. Control E. Hey yo.
just saved ourselves a little bit of time there, and it's done the bridge operation for us. And look at that. We now have a nice looking coffee cup. Ta-da! Now, it's a little It's a little sloppy where it like joins the handle there. Definitely looks like it was like, yeah, I don't know, like made out of, it just looks too soft, like it's made of cheese and then it was melted a little bit. It's not nice. So it's got to be a little bit more defined than what is there currently. So right here, I want to select the 4 vertices that make up this joint here. And then if you hit Shift E, that is going to, it's going to add a crease. You can see the top left-hand corner, it's got crease amount. And basically you'll have any value between like 0 and 1. And if you go all the way to 1, like it's a little too sharp, it's a little too jagged. So instead, I don't know what value you want to go at, like 0.7, 0.8, something like that, right? Not too sharp, but not dull like it was before, right? And do the same down here. Like creasing is kind of like faking in detail, like, you know, adding in another edge loop or whatever. It's kind of like it's doing that, but just like faking it, right? It's just like putting more emphasis on that edge loop in a way. I don't know how best to describe it, but something like that. Now you do have still these like jagged lines, and you would think that, yeah, like you could fix it by adding in an edge loop there. The only problem is like when you do this, you see that you actually get like a visible edge around the cup there, because yeah, it's like it's not, I don't know. You got too much detail on that one little point, and it's like it's kind of going haywire, and because you're putting too much detail on that, like, yeah, 2 edge loops really close together, but not everywhere else on the model, so it looks weird. Instead, what you want to do is just increase the subsurf modifier. So you can see if you increase this viewport level here to like level 4, that's where it like basically disappears, and it looks like a really nice connection. So the viewport, that's the one that's going to be viewed here, it doesn't really matter. The only one that matters is render. So I'll put render at 4, and viewport I'll leave it 2. And there we go. So that's nice.
Oh my goodness.
We've still got time. We've got time for another little part. So the next object we need to add in is, of course, our plate. So, yeah.
Maybe I got too much. Add these creases. It kind of looks like that to begin with, doesn't it? You know what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually clean this up a little bit before I move on to the next part. I feel like I just want to kind of fill this out a little bit. Almost does that right there, doesn't it? I only got the vertices that I wanted. I don't think this is the way I want to do this. I want this to be nice and smooth. Maybe I don't worry about the reference photo here, and I just kind of make it smooth for my geometry. I think that's the key. A little flat on the top there. I think I'm okay with that. This right here needs to be changed though. Wow. Got all the wrong ones. You know what I'm gonna do? Let's see if we can put this on the cage here, and then maybe that will help me a little bit. All right. Just like Revit, it wants to select the things that are the things that you don't want to select. So about right there. That's all right. All right, let's go back and see. I think you changed the subdivision.
Instead, what you want to do is just increase the subsurf modifier. So you can see if you increase this viewport level here to like level 4, that's where it like basically disappears and it looks like a really nice connection. So the viewport, that's the one that's going to be viewed here, it doesn't really matter. The only one that matters is render. So I'll put render at 4 and viewport I'll leave it 2. And there we go. So that's nice. We've still got time. We've got time for another little part. So the next object we need to add in is of course our plate. So yeah, let's do that. So with my cup here selected, I just want to move my 3D cursor just to the center of the cup, that little origin point there. So I'm going to hit Shift S and then go cursor to selected. And that will now, when we hit Shift A, mesh, and we add in circle, which is the object which most resembles a plate, it's now put it like exactly in line with the coffee cup where it needs to be, okay? So the radius, you know, we could, just like before, we can change this and try and line it up, but it doesn't really matter. We're going to scale it afterwards anyway. The big one is the fill type. I'm going to set the fill type to n-gon, which will basically put one solid face there instead of nothing. And then vertices, 32 is actually too much. I want to go 16, which is jagged, but we're going to use extra subsurf to make the smoothed shape of the plate there. So 16 with a fill type n-gon. Okay, now, here we go. Position this about there. Now, this is where you can really see like the limitations of our reference photo, because like, where do you actually position the plate, right? You can't position the plate here because obviously that's like now like the bottom of the cup and that's not where like that top of the rim goes, but you also can't position it there, right? So basically the photo has perspective, whereas we're looking like front, like side on. So basically you just have to make your best guess. So it's obviously a raised lip of a plate. So part of it would be like obscured. So probably like about there, like that far up the coffee cup, I'm guessing, is where the plate would start, right? So that would be where like the rim is, okay? And then I'm just gonna scale this in, hitting S, scale it in until it's as wide as the plate in the reference photo. All right, okay. Now, just like we did at the bottom of the coffee cup to like remove that thing, remove that jagged, weird star-shaped looking thing, I'm gonna hit I to inset, and that's kind of like adding a loop cut into itself, like that. And then, you know what? Let's do things a little differently, because you can see like the shape of this plate here, like it's kind of like sloping down into itself, right? So what I'm gonna do, I'm not gonna like move this down there like that. Instead, I'm gonna hit I to inset, and that's kind of like adding a loop cut into itself, like that. And then, you know what? Let's do things a little differently, because you can see like the shape of this plate here, like it's kind of like sloping down into itself, right? So what I'm gonna do, I'm not gonna like move this down there like that. Instead, I'm gonna position that about there, and then I'm gonna add in the detail that I need. So I'm going to go like 3 cuts. So I just hit Control R to add a loop cut, and then scrolling on your mouse wheel will add in more or less loop cuts. And I'm just going to go with 2 like that, and then right click, which will just cancel this movement and put it exactly in the center there. And then, what am I going to do? I'm going to use proportional editing, proportional, which is this one right here. And then I'm going to set this to sphere proportional editing. Then if I move this down, hitting G and then Z, you can see that now the rest of the plate has that like curved shape to it, which is what I was hoping for, like that. Okay, and that's the basics of
Or not.
plate. Ta-da! Nice. So just like we did with the coffee cup, we're going to add a solidify modifier.
I did not do that. Let's see.
Which will just cancel this movement and put it exactly in the center there. And then, what am I going to do? I'm going to use proportional editing, proportional, which is this one right here. And then I'm going to set this to sphere proportional editing. Then if I move this down, hitting G and then Z, you can see that now the rest of the plate has that like curved shape to it, which is what I was hoping for, like that.
Okay. So I think it's because my there we go. Are you able to rotate while working on that?
Then if I move this down, hitting G and then Z, you can see that now the rest of the plate has that like curved shape to it, which is what I was hoping for, like that. Okay, and that's the basics of a plate. Ta-da! Nice. So just like we did with the coffee cup, we're going to add a solidify modifier. Let's give it a thickness of, how thick do you reckon that is? Probably a little bit thicker than the coffee cup maybe. So let's go like 3 millimeters, 3 millimeters, and then add a subsurf modifier as well. Now you can see that like the edge of this plate here, exact same problem we had like the rim of the coffee cup there, like it's too sharp looking. That's because there's just not enough detail, right? This plane there is really annoying me. So right here, I'm just gonna add another loop cut just to create the rim of that plate, like so. And then right click and shade smooth. Nice, and let's increase the viewport just to try and, yeah, see how that looks in the view. That's nice. Move that down ever so slightly. And now you will notice that if you look at, if you hide the coffee cup, hide the plate, you'll see that just here, like you've actually got like this weird like little lip that comes out of the plate there, which is, I guess, like to like target the cup when you put the cup down on the plate.
Yep.
It's got to go right in
Exactly
there. So it's
where
kind
it
of like a raised little ripple almost, right? So we can create that. Let's just hide the camera there by going, I'm going to hit Alt-Z just to go into this X-ray mode so that I can still see the solid view, but I can see the wireframe as well. And right about there, actually, right where that is, that's where I'm going to start the lip. So I'm going to hit I to create another inset, and then I'm going to hit I again, and this is going to be like the returning part. So this is the part that's going to be the lip that's moving up, like the little ripple part. But before I do that, I just want to apply the solidify modifier because I only want to add this ripple effect to the top part of my plate here, not the bottom part. So now that I've done that, turn off proportional editing and just move that up. And now let's have a look at that. There we go. Got a little ripple effect there. Little notch, little something for the cup to sit into, right? I don't know. I feel like that should be a little bit closer in. So let me just select that. Oh, I've got too many vertices here now. In fact, you know, I mean, I did it the wrong way around. So let's just fix that, right? So let's hide the plane. Bring this edge loop here. I'm going to hit X. I'm just going to hit dissolve edge. That's what you do if you add an edge that you don't need, right? So, and then I'll just scale that in so that's like the bottom flat plane of the plate. Cool. And now back into Alt-Z, toggle X-ray mode. I'm going to select this, and let's just bring this in a little bit. And then this as well, bring that in a little bit. And then, because it's kind of hard to see, like it's a little bit too smoothed out, we're going to add in some extra loop cuts here as well. So everywhere you add a loop cut and you bring it in, it's just going to like sharpen that like smoothing effect. Right?
Yeah.
It's gonna make it a little bit more obvious. So
I can do that.
You can see that lip there is more obvious than it was before. And I'll do the exact same thing for this inner part. So let's select that. Well, not the exact same thing. I'm going to select that one solid face there because it's the center, and I'll hit I to create, because you can't do a loop cut within like one solid face. You have to hit I to like, yeah, inset it. So
Makes sense.
yeah, there you go. We got the plate. We got the plate for our coffee cup. Look at that. We accomplished so much in one video. So, well done. We've basically
Man, it's already
the modeling of the plate and the coffee cup.
11
next
o'clock.
we're going to get into the materials and start making this thing look like glass.
Yes, I did spend like, oh, that's not what I meant to do.
Random phase and random scale. Add some color with an object.
Interesting. Okay, so I'm gonna sharpen this a little bit. Heck, he did, like one does. I will probably also, I don't know if he's gonna do it, but I'm probably gonna manipulate my cup to have that kind of different shape on the inside too, eventually. But for now, I'm gonna take this guy and we're gonna inset that. So I'm actually gonna a little bit more, and then this one. No, we want to add another one of those, right? Like that, and then another one of those. Make that a little bit sharper. And then I'm going to take this guy, bring it in just a little bit. Am I happy with that? There, I kind of like that. There we go. It actually should probably maybe be just a little bit smaller even. Or the cup, bottom of the cup maybe a little bit bigger. Take all of these, not that. Bring these in just. Yeah, there we go. Although it does look a little bit bigger on theirs, doesn't it? Oh, interesting. Do I have a loop that I did not grab? So let's actually make that a little bit bigger. And then it's actually interesting. It's almost like there's a... That one doesn't do anything. It's almost like there's a much narrower... Oop, wrong button. It's like a very shallow, kind of comes out like that, and it's almost like there's another ridge right there. I'm gonna bring this out. I'm gonna go like this. I'm gonna add another loop right here. I kind of like that. It's got that double, kind of double effect like that. I like that. We'll go with that.
Info node connected to a color map.
Hey,
Choose
that's
consistent
what I
and some
did.
random sprinkle colors. Connect to the color and yummo to think this could have been a 16-part tutorial series.
Slam dunk at the end there.
Random phase and random scale. Add some color with an object info node connected to a color map.
Hey,
Choose
that's what
consistent
I
and
did.
some random sprinkle colors. Connect to the color and yummo to think this could have been a 16-part tutorial series.
Slam dunk at the end there. To someone, I don't know who, can't be me, clearly, because mine was 12 parts, not 16, which is exactly as long as a donut tutorial should be. This tutorial series is brought to you by Polygon. Make better rendering faster. Welcome to part 3 of level 3. Let's turn this cup into glass.
Let's do it.
In
Let's
rendering
make it
mode,
glass.
This is how our mug looks currently. And you know what? We are done with our reference photo. So I'm just going to drag this into my archive collection, which you'll remember is just like it's hidden, but I can access it later if I wanted to for whatever reason.
Let's do that. I'm going to rename this real quick, actually. Let's call it Cup Reference, maybe without the weird titling. So where was the archive? Donut backup. Yeah, let's just drag that into backup. Backup. Then let's make collection. Cup. Drag that into cup. There we go.
And I'll also just bring back my plane just so that I can see everything. Okay.
Environment.
So this is how it looks currently, and if we go to the material panel, you'll see that
I
there's
got
actually no material
my cup
added.
down in the.
There is. It's the exact same. Like if you just add a new material, it's the exact. These settings here are what.
I'm gonna grab both of these and we're just gonna move them up real quick until. Just kidding. Why can't I grab them? Are they not both grabbed? Loading.
every new object will have applied to it by default if you don't change any settings. So anyway, this is what our material looks like currently. If you want to make it look like glass, the old way to do it in Blender was to use a glass shader. There is a glass shader here. But actually, the principled shader is like, it's the master uber material, which can do a whole range of things, including glass. So to make this look like glass, the only value in here you need to change is transmission. It's set to 0 by default. If you turn that up to 1, it's now glass. That's it. That's basically it. It's frosted glass by default, but that's because there's a roughness set to 0.5. So if you turn that down to 0, it now looks like glass. Look at that, amazing. Now we want the plate to be glass as well. So if you want to copy a material from one to another, it's a little convoluted, but basically you select the material without that you want to have the other material applied to, then shift select the material that you want to copy from, and then hit Control L and then select materials. Yeah, it's not the easiest way to do it, but it's how you do it.
Okay. All right. So transmission to 1, roughness to 0, and we have glass. Call it glass. Now, he did all this weird stuff, but I feel like I can just change this to glass. But I'm curious, like, what he just did now.
It's a little convoluted, but basically you select the material without that you want to have the other material applied to, then shift select the material that you want to copy from, and then hit Control L and then select materials. Yeah, it's not the easiest way to do it, but it's how you do it in Blender. Okay, so they've now got.
And it just did exactly that. Okay.
Very original. And yeah, it looks good, but you'll notice one little problem, and that is that if you look at like the plane in the background, like that, the brightness of that plane, when it passes through the glass, it's a little bit dim. Like it's almost like there's some darkness being applied to it. And that is because by default, the base color of your material isn't pure white, it's slightly less than pure white. I don't know where 0.906 value came from by default. I'm sure there's a very good reason for that, but we want it to be 1, okay, because it's glass. And now you can see the difference between those, the pinkness of it, the brightness of it is identical both with glass or glass, so that's good. Okay, now it's probably also now a good time to like line everything up to make sure that yeah, it's resting on the surface. And actually, before we do that, we might as well parent our cup to our plate, which you remember we did for the icing and the donut. So select the cup, then the plate, then hit Control P, which is how you set a parent, and then hit Object, Keep Transform. And then when you do that, if you've just got the plate selected, everywhere you move the plate, the cup will go with it, which is good. Okay, so in solid view mode, what I want to do is just move this down until it's resting on the plane. Now, because this is glass, you're going to notice if it's clipping, okay? So what you want to do is underneath your plane, just check that the plate isn't peeking through it. So just go underneath it, then hit G, then Z, and then just move it up until it completely disappears.
It feels like there should be a way to like make sure that those faces just sit on top.
It's harder to do because you have to get the camera, well, you have to get the view like right in between the front and back face of the plate. Very hard to do, but anyway, you get it in here, and then just hit G and Z to move it up along the Z axis until it just disappears from the view of the plate.
Which you can't do because we parented it already.
If you see like a dark circle,
I think we're good.
Here, that means that it's clipping, but it looks like ours is pretty good. So I'm just going to move my camera back. Whoops. So the camera was, previously focused just on the donut. But anyway, I'm going to hit G, then middle mouse button, and just drag, or yeah, just move the mouse back, and it will go there. And then I'm just going to rotate the plate so that the handle's on the right-hand side. So you do that just by hitting G, then I'm just rotating on the Z axis, like that. And there we go. All right, let's just move this up a little bit. And let's go ahead and give it a render. So we got default samples at 128. Let's see how this looks. All right, we're coming to the end of it. I'm rendering on 2 GTX 1080 Ti's, so I know that not everyone has cards as nice as this. It might take, I don't know, 20 minutes on your machine, I don't know. It's just one of the things of computer graphics, right? Like, the faster your hardware, the faster you're going to get a clean image at the other end. You can do it on pretty much, like, people have asked me, like, what's the minimum requirements to run Blender? Like, there's almost no minimum requirements.
OBS is like, what are you doing?
So if you want to do 3D, like, long term, I would definitely recommend upgrading to a nicer graphics card. And there's actually a Blender benchmark where you can actually see, like, what are the stats of, like, different cards. So you can check that out. But anyways, this is how it looks, and it's pretty good. It's, yeah. that's how the glass is looking. So you can go more or less samples. I would probably, for like a final render, I would do like higher samples at around 200 or 300 or 500, who knows. But for this is fine. Now, we want to have the liquid in the glass because we've got time. We've got time to make the liquid. So in solid view mode, you know, we could like add in a cylinder and then line it up with this, but like, why?
Hold on, I'm still rendering. Watching the paint dry. We're doing. It does have a lot of noise, doesn't it? GPU. Oh, 128. Okay. Wow, that's actually not bad. All right. So the we've still got some like reflections and stuff like that that could be made a little bit better, but digging it. All right.
Bother. We've got the cup here. We've got the wireframe, and what we can basically do is like reuse the geometry here and just like duplicate it and make it a new object, and that can be our liquid. By the way, there's 100 ways you could make liquid in glass. You could even use the fluid simulator, which Blender comes with, but that would just be crazy expensive in terms of processing time for static liquid. So yeah, it's essentially, it's another object, and the object happens to fit the exact dimensions of the inside of the cup. So we're just going to duplicate the inside of the cup. So, okay, so this is, you know, this is, hang on, solid view, let's go X-ray mode, right? So you'll notice that there is the outside of the cup and the inside of the cup, and if you're not careful, you'll end up selecting the wrong part of it. So make sure that you are only selecting the inside. In fact, it can actually be helpful to switch to face select mode, and then just hold down Alt and then Shift, and then just select along here like this. And you should be able to get pretty well just the inside of the cup.
Okay. I think I want to do something first before he does this.
And I'm going to hit C, which is the circle select, which gives you like this, kind of like this brush, and then I can just select the bottom row of vertices there. You could like go chick, chick, chick and do that one by one, but there's so much going on there, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to click the wrong thing. But yeah, anyway, that's it. So I've got the inside there. Just make sure that it is like, you know, if you see like a lone one like that, right, like where it's not connected or something, like just make sure that you are only selecting the all the stuff that's inside it. Then when you've got that, you're going to hit Shift D, which is to duplicate. Now it's connected to my cursor, so I just want to cancel that movement by right-clicking or hitting Escape, and that will just bring it back to where it's duplicated from. Then you're going to hit P straight after that to separate it via selection to its own separate object. So now if I exit edit mode, you should see that we've got the
Alright, so we did all that. I think before we do that, I'm going to take this face right here, and we're going to try to shape, and I think I want to do it kind of flipping. Regions, no, that's not it. Alt. There was a way he changed the clipping of the view. Back face culling, outline. Where was it? The Blender view clipping.
Sometimes in Blender, when you zoom too closely into an object, like change the clipping distance. So you want to set a distance where this starts happening.
Yeah, I'd like to see that.
It's going to open up this little window. Go to view, and then you're going to see something that says clip start and clip.
Okay, so I was in the general correct vicinity. View. Clip start. So I kind of want to be able to see like this right here. There we go. Yeah, just like that. And I'm going to turn this back on, and I'm going to nope. I just want to move that one face. I don't want to move the bottom face. How do I only move the bottom face? Or the top face? And I kind of don't even want like, I want this also. Don't move that. Let's find that minimum. What's that starting to look like? Okay, I think that's kind of what I'm going for right there. We'll know when I put the liquid in. All right, let's find out. Should be easy enough to modify it anyway. All right, so essentially what he did is he took, I think it might actually have been from here, essentially all these faces down here, Yeah, and see, I got the outside ones too, and that's what he was warning about. It's like, don't do that. That's definitely not what I want. There we go. Interesting. This is a little bit easier than what he was doing. Except I have done jacked that up, didn't I? I think it's just selecting this face. Is that not a face? I feel like if I do this, I'm not going to get this spot in the middle here. Let's see here. Shift-D. P. Selection. Right, I've got that.
Cup, and then we've also got another object right in there. So they're like overlapping right now, and they're kind of like hard to click on each other. So if you go to your collections, sorry, your outline over here underneath circle. I guess we should probably start renaming some of these. I've got plate, and then I've got my cup, and then here, this new one is called liquid. And I might as well actually parent it to the cup. So I'm just going to shift select on the cup, Control P, object, keep transform, and then now when I move the cup, the liquid will go with it, and when I move the plate, the cup and the liquid will go with it. So it's kind of like getting a hierarchy of object needs. I don't know. Okay, so the liquid is here. Yay. Okay, so it's if we look at it in wireframe mode, this is what we got. Now, obviously, liquid should be closed.
Aha.
A flat plane on the top. So if I just
Okay, so I think I parented the wrong thing here. I wonder if I can. Can I unparent? Separate. Group. You unparent. Detach. Think. Nope. Did the order incorrectly. I just did it for this.
hit F on here, it's of then here, this new one is called right in there. So they're like overlap. Then you're going to hit P straight after that to separate it via selection to its own separate object. So now if I exit edit mode, you should see that we've got the cup, and then we've also got another object right in there. So they're like overlapping right now, and they're kind of like hard to click on each other. So if you go to your collections, sorry, your outline over here underneath circle, I guess we should probably start renaming some of these. I've got plate, and then I've got my
Blender. Unparent. Object parent clear parent. Object parent clear parent. Okay, so the liquid, we're going to call that cup. We're going to call this plate and liquid. Okay, so we want to parent. Maybe I did these wrong before. but I can move this separately. Good. All right. I've already forgotten what order that needed to be in. So liquid, cup, nope, cup, liquid. Okay, I think I got it. So if the cup moves now, the liquid moves. If the plate moves, everything moves. Hey, I got it. Okay.
Cup. And then here, this new one is called liquid. And I might as well actually parent it to the cup. So I'm just going to shift select on the cup.
I thought of that too.
Object, heat transform. And then now when I move the cup, the liquid will go with it. And when I move the plate, the cup and the liquid will go with it. So it's kind of like getting a hierarchy of object needs. Okay, so the liquid is here, yay! Okay, so it's, if we look at it in wireframe mode, this is what we got. Now, obviously, liquid should be closed, right? We want to have a flat plane along the top. So if I just hit F on here, it's going to create, it's going to do that, which is, you remember what happened with the cup at the start, right? It's got this, this madness going on. So what you want to do is hit I, and that will create another, like an inset loop cut right there to create, yeah, like a much more smoothed, less abrasive looking surface. Okay, now, it's important now, if we go to have a look at this, you'll notice if you look at the liquid, it looks a little weird. And let's hide the cup and let's hide the plate just so that we can focus on it. Like something's definitely going wrong here. And actually the first time I was like making this coffee cup to, you know, make the tutorial result or whatever, it took me a while to actually figure out why my liquid was just, whatever I changed in the material settings, it just wasn't looking right. And that is that by default, if you go up here to your overlays section, doesn't matter, object mode or whatever, if you click on face orientation, you'll see that you get this red, right? If you're in face orientation and you see anything red, that means that you're the tutorial result or whatever. It took me a while to actually figure out why my liquid was just, whatever I changed in the material settings, it just wasn't looking right. And that is that by default, if you go up here to your overlays section, doesn't matter, object mode or whatever, if you click on face orientation, you'll see that you get this red, right? If you're in face orientation and you see anything red, that means that your normals are facing the wrong way. Okay, so normals, there are two sides to a mesh, right? Like you've got this side and then the underside, right? And there's technically, yeah, they will both be rendered, but it's only designed to be viewed from one side, essentially. So there's a front facing and then there's a back facing. Red is a back facing side. So what you need to do is in edit mode, select all your vertices by hitting A, then hit Shift N. Shift N will recalculate your normals, or if you just forget it in the future for whatever reason, if you just type in normals, you'll see one there that says recalculate normals. So if you forget that, or you can get my shortcut PDF and you'll have that and you don't have to remember it. Shift N. Anyway, once you've done that, it's blue, face orientation, rendered view mode, it'll now look like this, which you'll agree looks a lot better than what it was before. This is how it looked previously, that weird top there and looks like metal down there. And this is how it looks with recalculated normals, okay? So bring back the cup, bring back the plate. And before we, in the next part, we're going to actually make this look, with volumetrics, make it look like coffee. But just looking at liquid, this is, it's actually a problem a lot of beginners have, believe it or not, it's, I guess, a common thing beginners want to make is a cup of water or a cup of liquid. And you'll see that this liquid just doesn't look right. It looks interesting, I guess, a whole bunch of refraction and stuff, but it doesn't look right because you've got glass, which is a solid glass object, and there's refraction rules, it's applying physics refraction rules, and then you've got liquid, and then there's more refraction going on, and if you've got a gap between the glass and the liquid, it's now calculating index, it's calculating a different refraction for, it's essentially you've got the glass, then you've got air, and then you've got glass again, and it's doing this weird thing where it's calculating different refraction rules on all of those, and you don't want that. Essentially, all you want to have is if I can erase all of that at the same time, you want to have the glass here, and then this is the other side of the glass, and you actually want to cheat, which is obviously this isn't accurate to the real world, but you want to have the liquid actually on this side. So this is the liquid here. You want to have it actually inside of the glass, between these two walls. That's the front facing, and that's the inside of the glass. You want to have it actually intersecting the glass. So essentially what I mean is just scale up the liquid ever so slightly. It's easier if you look at it in, say, let me hide that annotation there. In wireframe mode, no. We're going to do wireframe mode. We'll do solid view mode, X-ray mode. Okay. And then, yeah, you essentially just want to have it like this, right? So that's the liquid, that's the glass, and you can see it's between it's between those, right? So just slightly peeking out. And when you do that, hang on, the surface tension, there's some weirdness going on there. In fact, actually, let's fix that because it's just going to look weird until we fix this. So the surface tension, the reason that you're getting like, yeah, it's like really rounded, we need to have another loop cut right here. So let's add Control R, add another loop cut right at the very tippity top. And now let's give that a render, and you should see this. Like that. There's a little bit of, if I hide the plane, then you can't see anything. Okay, just ignore this reflection that's going on the top there. But you can see the liquid now actually appears like liquid does, you know, in a glass. It's like, it looks like the liquid is hugging the actual, like the wall of that outer part of the glass there. And that's exactly how you want it to look. You want it to, yeah, be intersecting it ever so slightly. I don't know, I guess there's yeah, physics laws on, and I'm sure we're cheating it by having it intersecting, but that's how you always create liquid. That's a better view. There we go. Okay, now, there's one other thing we're going to do before we jump to the next part of the series, and that is I just want to show you surface tension. Okay, if I just pull up here a render, sorry, not a render, a reference photo of, whoa, everything's happening right here. It's kind of hard to see it from this photo, but I didn't have time to take a photo at home to really zoom in on it. But this is how it looks, right? So that's the glass there. This is the liquid. The liquid isn't actually, it's not just flat, it's actually going up like that. It's creating a ramp, and that's surface tension. So it's actually, the edger parts of it are kind of like sticking, like holding on to the edges like that, right?
Yep.
So we essentially want to have that, and that's like anytime you've got liquid in a glass, it's going to be doing that effect right there. So what I'm going to do is, in solid view mode here, go into edit mode, and then with this big flat plane at the top here, and let's go.
I don't have a big flat
No, we
plane.
need that. I'm just going to drag it down like that. Okay, so we've got that, and then I'm going to do another inset just to sharpen that a little bit. And then I want to make sure, so you can actually see here, I'm looking inside the glass right now. That curve is actually going too far in.
I'm gonna finish this, but I gotta go back. I don't know why my. Oh, I know why.
I'm just going to scale this in. You can actually see that.
Yeah, there we go. That's why it's doing that. Okay, let's go back and see what he was doing.
No, we need that. I'm just going to like that, right? So we essentially want to have that, and that's like anytime you've got liquid in a glass, it's going to be doing that effect right there. So what I'm going to do is, in solid view mode here, go into edit mode, and then with this big flat plane at the top here, and let's go toggle X-ray mode. No, we need that. I'm just going to drag it down like that. Okay, so we've got that, and then I'm going to do another inset just to sharpen that a little bit. And then I want to make sure, so you can actually see here, I'm looking inside the glass right now. That curve is actually going too far in. So what I'm going to do is just select this, and then I'm just going to, and that one there as well. That edge loop, yep. I'm just going to scale this in. You can actually see there's like a little faint line where it's intersecting. It's really hard to see. I apologize. Maybe a different, a matte cap or something. I'm just trying to think, how can I actually like show this in an easy way? That's a little bit better, right? But then you can't see the wireframe. I guess there's a way to make the wireframe appear on top of it, but right now it's very annoying that the wireframe just like keeps disappearing without X-ray mode, but then you can't see the surface very well. Yeah, anyway, scale this in, and this as well, I guess. Okay, there's people coming and going in this office. I don't know them. They don't work with me. I'm just in a shared office space. So as much as I'd like to say, hey, entire office, no noise, because I'm recording. I don't want to be that guy. So anyway, there you go. Okay, so there we go. You should have just a little bit of surface tension, right? In fact, you know what? I could probably do it even more. Just up that a little bit. Yeah, there we go. So it's like you're getting this little ramp that goes all the way around it, right? So that's basically that little ramp there, up the top. Okay, so now in rendered view mode, it'll look like this. Ta-da! Which, you know, it's not a huge change, but it's little details like this that matter. So anyways, give this a quick render. And there we go. A glass of water in a fancy coffee cup. Yeah, anyways, so go ahead and join me in the
Like
next
my,
part, and we'll actually make this look like coffee with like tinted, yeah, actually look like real coffee. So see you in the next video.
Random phase and random scale. Add some
Yeah.
color with an object info node.
That's not what I meant to do.
Make a donut. Project a picture of the donut on the donut.
Like my surface tension's maybe too much. only 11:30. I can probably do one more. How far are we to the end of this tutorial? Why is the playlist not showing up anymore? We'll go ahead and render that. Ooh, watch those FPS drop. Welcome back. My horrible stream that's been plagued with internet and technology issues. We're rendering a cup. It's a nice cup. I think so anyway. Done? This one has a lot more noise than the other one. There it goes. Alright, save, and let's move on.
It's a donut. Make the frosting its own donut material and run a
That's
random output
lazy.
from an object, and every time you duplicate the donut, it's a new donut. Turn the donuts into a collection
Magical.
called donuts. 50,000 donuts. Realize that nothing will ever be as perfect as the worlds we create in our imagination. Import the tutorial on a plane. You just made a tutorial in Blender. Create some sort of corridor digitally. It's a museum. It's very popular until some guru walked in and drew prices all over everything. Sir, this is a museum. This is for the public, for posterity. Please, you have to leave now. Take a picture of a donut.
Oh, this is weird. This is becoming a thing. That's hilarious. Check out Ian's channel, guys, if you haven't already. He does lazy tutorials, these 60-second things, and they're amazing. So links in the description if you haven't checked it out already. I'm sure you have. But he also directed a little film. Not many of you know this, but he directed a little film called Tears of Steel, which was a little something that the I don't know, Blender Institute did a little while back. But he knows what he's doing, so he's hilarious, and go subscribe to his channel. This tutorial series is brought to you by Polygon. Make better renders faster. Welcome back. In this video, we're going to turn this water into
Let's do it.
coffee. So first of all, let's, if we were to change this liquid here, we'd also be changing the same material for the plate and the glass because they're all sharing the
Yeah, we don't want to do that.
So with the liquid selected, give it a new material by hitting that little number that was next to it. Oh, what happened there? Move that over. There we go. And then I'm going to call this coffee. So these two are sharing the same glass, and then this one is just called coffee. Okay, now you would think that the way to change the color of a liquid would be to just like take the base color and just give it something else, right? And it works. Or does it? It does work, but you'll notice that, doesn't look that realistic, right? Something's not quite right about it. It almost looks like, it's made of like really, really diluted light cordial. I don't know if that's an Australian thing, cordial. But, like, I don't know, the juice that's like really concentrated, then you add water to it.
Yep.
You give it to kids. It's just full of sugar. It looks like that, right? There's no, yeah, it looks too light. And the reason that it looks too light is that what this is doing is it's not behaving like real liquid does. If you've ever stood in a lake or gone swimming in a lake, you'll probably notice that like you can see your hands in the water, but then as they go through the water, they eventually disappear into darkness. And that is because there is particles in the water, and the more depth your hand goes through the water, so many particles that it basically all the light is removed and you can no longer see your hands. Well, it's the exact same thing that's happening with liquid, right? What this is doing, this base color, all it's doing is it's basically changing the color of the surface of the material, which isn't even possible for glass. Like, you can't just change the color. Like, it'd be almost like if the glass was painted with like a translucent paint. That's what this is doing right now.
Yep.
What you want is you want that depth, okay? So the way you do it is not to change this color at all, okay? We're gonna leave that at pure white. What we need to do is down here, underneath volume, we're going to use, we're going to add some volume to it. Okay, so volume is that, it's that depth. It's adding little tiny invisible particles to the inside of your object so that it will, it'll go through. Things will disappear as it goes through. Anyway, so underneath volume, click that little thing that says none, and you get all the different shading types here. There's only 2 that'll actually work in the volume slot, so I don't know why it's showing all this. The only 2 is volume, unless I'm mistaken. Oh, I guess also principal volume. Volume absorption and volume scatter. Scatter is used for things like clouds, where like light just sort of like passes through it and like bounces through it, and it kind of just retains its brightness. Absorption is where things like get darker as light goes through it. So that is the one that we want. By the way, this material section here, you'll remember like when we were doing the donut, if you went to the shading tab, and we zoomed out here, you still have the nodes here, right? So this is actually what you've just created, like through doing this in the panel, right? Where did all that stuff go? By doing it through the panel, it just added in these nodes here. So you've got your principal shader, which is like the appearance of the liquid, and then this one here is being plugged into a new part of the material separate to everything else called volume, okay? But, you know, we don't actually need all this complexity in the nodes. We're just fine with what we've got here. Okay, now when you add this volume absorption, nothing's really changed because the density of 1 is really, really low. If you were to increase this, you would see, you start to get the kind of the look of like when your hand is in a lake, right? The higher you set this to, you'll see that eventually we can't really see the bottom of the glass. In fact, let me just go from camera view. Let me move the camera up just slightly. I'm just going to look down. The higher you set this to, you'll see that eventually you add this volume absorption, nothing's really changed because the density of 1 is really, really low. If you were to increase this, you would see, you start to get the kind of the look of like when your hand is in a lake, right? The higher you set this to, you'll see that eventually we can't really see the bottom of the glass. In fact, let me just go from camera view. Let me move the camera up just slightly. I'm just gonna look down. You don't have to copy this, by the way. I'm just doing this so that I can Control B. If you hold down Control B and drag over it when you're in camera mode, that will add a basically like a window, like a small little window, so that you can render a lot faster than if it was like full screen. Anyway, I'm just doing that so that I can show you this depth of this liquid here. Okay, so this is what it looked like with nothing there. So you're seeing like straight through right to the bottom of the glass, and then the higher you set that to, the darker it becomes, like so. Okay, now. Looking at this, we want this to obviously look like coffee, okay? So looking at a real photo of coffee, I've actually got a reference photo here that I'm going to load up just to show you. If I can find it. Where did I save it? There it is. Okay. Real coffee looks like this. So it's got a kind of a orangey, yellowy tint to it. So what color would you actually set this to? You might go like, okay, orangey, dark, like that. Well, actually, you don't need to put any darkness into this value here because the volume, this density, that's what's going to give it the darkness. So you can actually make this like fully bright, like 100% value, whatever, right? And then your saturation, you also want that to be bright as well. I guess you probably do need to have some darkness to it, or else it's maybe not going to work at all. So don't go 100% value. You got to have a little bit of darkness to it. Otherwise, maybe that's a bug, but like the density just won't work without it. So anyway, then yeah, you don't actually want to give it the orange color either. You want to give it just a tip of, you can see the very tip of that, it's like a lightish yellow color.
How did he get rid of the mask?
A lightish yellow color. The density is what's going to actually make it multiply. Looking at this, we want this to obviously look like coffee comes, like so. Okay, now, looking at this, we want this to obviously look like coffee, okay? So looking at a real photo of coffee, I've actually got a reference.
Is there a way to get rid of the view, the render border? Turn off render border. F3. Border. Render. Clear. Render region. There we go. Oh wow, did it start streaming in Twitch? It decided to start streaming in Twitch. That's funny. That's a little too clear. Let's go like 125. I think. How does that look? Back up to 250. Getting the clear on the bottom like I wanted. Hard to tell. I feel like it might be. Oh, whoa. I'm gonna take this down to like 1 again. Let's just see. Almost like maybe I didn't raise that solid up enough. Should be separation between the liquid and solid, or the glass. Maybe. Careful about this. Do I even want to mess with this? Maybe I don't want to mess with this right now. Alright. I don't want to mess with this right now.
Reference photo here that I'm going to load up just to show you. If I can find it. Where did I save it? There it is. Okay. Real coffee looks like this. So it's got a kind of a orangey, yellowy tint to it. So what color would you actually set this to? You might go like, okay, orangey, dark, like that. Well, actually, you don't need to put any darkness into this value here because the volume, this density, that's what's going to give it the darkness. So you can actually make this like fully black, like 100% value, whatever, right? And then your saturation, you also want that to be bright as well. I guess you probably do need to have some darkness to it, or else it's maybe not going to work at all. So don't go 100% value. You got to have a little bit of darkness to it. Otherwise, maybe that's a bug, but like the density just won't work without it. So anyway, then yeah, you don't actually want to give it the orange color either. You want to give it just the tip of, you can see the very tip of that. It's like a lightish yellow color. Okay, so when you do this, you give it a lightish yellow color. The density is what's going to actually make it multiply and become this hue from, you know, light yellow to orange and then to darkness. Because that's basically the way the light's working is it's going to yellow, and then the yellow light is then reflecting into other particles, which is also yellow, and then it's making it more yellow until it becomes orange and then red and then finally to pure darkness. So giving it yellow and then just increasing the density until it starts to look like coffee. And actually, it can probably be helpful if you make your plane white, because that can actually help you to see the color. Yeah, that's pretty good. So that is the one. That's the value that I'm going to go with. So all that was to essentially say, like, keep this the same, the principled thing, keep that the same, and just add one volume absorption section, make it yellow, and then set the density to around 700, 800. By the way, these values here, like coffee isn't even consistent in color, depending on what coffee you use, depending on what strength you use. If you're my wife, you use like a really, really super weak, like, I don't know, a density of 200, might as well be tea. Or, you could be the sort of person that has an espresso. One of those Italians, crazy Italians, sitting outside the cafes all day, just sipping on these. Like, what's the point of enjoying a coffee if it's that small? That's my point, right? Just make it a little bigger and enjoy it a little bit, but not too big, right? Don't wash it out, but just don't condense it. I don't know. Just do what I want, okay? Everyone should enjoy coffee the same way as me. But anyways, that's it. That was pretty simple tutorial. It's just adding like one note to make it look like coffee. But yeah, the next video we're going to be UV unwrapping this cup so that we can add condensation droplets and texture to that. So learning a lot in the next video. So click here, and I will see you there.
But
This tutorial uses some texture.
See what a rendering looks like. Let's save real quick. Say bye to my frame rate. Render in the background. Oh my goodness. And then like maybe he's got a UV droplet texture. Okay, let's drop that in our folder. It looks like I need to grab a plug-in too. Is there no download? Don't understand. This always frustrates me on GitHub. I mean, how am I supposed to download this? I just have to expand everything, apparently. Edit preferences, add-ons, install. UV squares masters.
stickers from our
Cool.
sister company, Polygon. Sign up for a free account by clicking the link in the description. It's the final
That. Let's go find that render. Whoa, where's my render? Close? There it is.
part of level 3. Level 3. I don't know. I just wanted to start with the cringiest intro ever, and that's what I came up with. So we're going to be adding condensation, a texture to our cup here. And to do that, we have to do UV unwrapping. And that's really the whole reason why we even got this step in here. Condensation isn't that necessary for something like this, but it's an excuse to learn about UV unwrapping, okay? So UV unwrapping, you remember we talked about it briefly when we had the donut and we were gonna paint it, and I explained it's like a chocolate that's been wrapped up. But then I showed you that we were kind of lucky because the donut came pre-UV unwrapped, so we didn't really have to do anything. The cup, no such luck. So we've modeled it ourselves, which means we have to do the UV unwrapping. Okay, so to explain this, it is probably best if we just quickly, I'll do this quickly, explain it on something a little simpler than a cup, okay? The way I like to think of UV unwrapping, and it's helped me whenever I'm going about creating something, is imagining that this object is made out of paper, and I want to flatten that paper, and I want to put it flat onto a surface. And in order to do that, I've got a pair of scissors with me, and I have to choose where am I gonna cut in order to lay it flat, okay? And this is very helpful for me because I remember as a kid, I made like a paper dice. We should just call them dice. Die sounds ridiculous, even if it's a single one. Dice, I made a single dice, and it was made of paper, and I had to do this, and it's just like burned in my mind, right? So imagine this is made of paper. I want to lay it flat. Where do I put those cuts? Okay, so there is a UV editing tab, which is what we're going to be using to UV unwrap something. And by default, it's come already UV unwrapped because it's a cube. So let me just cheat, reset it, because we're gonna do it ourselves. Okay. So in order to put these cuts in, right, I'm going to use edge select mode. Don't follow along with this, right? This is just for like demonstration purposes. You can sit.
But I want to
relax and enjoy a donut if you happen to have one laying around. Anyway, so where would I put a cut? Let's put 3 cuts in the top here. Okay, so I'm going to hit Control E, and this is how you add in a cut, by the way. Control E for E, elephant. We'll go with elephant. Mark seam. That's the one you select. Now those there are outlined as red, and that means those are going to be cut. Then I would hit U, select everything, hit U, and then unwrap. Okay, now this is the result that I've got. Now you can see like something's going on, but it's probably not right. And there's these weird bits that are all E, and this is how you would add in a cut, by the way. Control E for E, elephant. Relax and enjoy a donut if you happen to have one laying around. Anyway, so where would I put a cut? Let's put 3 cuts in the top here. Okay, so I'm going to hit Control E, and this is how you would add in a cut, by the way. Control E for E, elephant. We'll go with elephant. Mark seam. That's the one you select. Now those there are outlined as red, and that means those are going to be cut. Then I would hit U, select everything, hit U, and then unwrap. Okay, now this is the result that I've got. Now you can see like something's going on, but it's probably not right. And there's these weird bits that are all sort of squished together. This is part of our UV unwrapping, which has come out perfectly. That's a square, right? So that part has been done correct. The rest of it not so, because it's all squished in together. It doesn't know what to do. So let's try putting in another cut and another cut. I'll put 2 cuts in here. I'll hit Control E, mark seam, U, unwrap. Haha, looking a little closer, right? Like it's almost flattened out. It's almost flattened out on the table, but there's still not enough cuts. You can see that this part here and this part here. So let's try putting in another cut and another cut. I'll put 2 cuts in here. I'll hit Control E, mark seam, U, unwrap. Haha, looking a little closer, right? Like it's almost flattened out. It's almost flattened out on the table, but there's still not enough cuts. You can see that
why mine did it that way. Like you got this part right, and then couldn't figure this out.
E, mark seam, this one, this is part of our UV unwrapping, which has come out perfectly. That's a square, that's a square, right? So that part has been done correct. The rest of it not so, because it's all squished in together. It doesn't know what to do. So let's try putting in another cut and another cut. I'll put 2 cuts in here. I'll hit Control E, mark seam, U, unwrap. Haha, looking a little closer, right? Like it's almost flattened out. It's almost flattened out on the table, but there's still not enough cuts. You can see that this part here and this part here need to have a seam as well, right? So that's that line there and this line here. So now that I've done that, Control E, mark seam, unwrap, and there we go. Okay, so that's how you do it. You put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Is it 8? 7? It's 7 cuts. 7 cuts in order to outline this six-sided cube here, right?
Oh,
so that's a very
that's
simple
why.
object, and I hope that didn't confuse you at all, but I wanted to demonstrate it on something a little simpler. So now we have our cup. Where on earth do we put these cuts? So imagine it's made of paper. Where do
I can do this. What?
If you want to lay out,
I don't think that's. Is that how this turned out? No, it's not.
8, 7. It's 7 cuts. 7 cuts in order to outline this. So now that I've done that, Control E, mark seam, unwrap, and there we go. Okay, so that is, and this part here need to have a seam as well, right? So that's that line there and this line here. So now that I've done that, Control E, mark seam, unwrap, and there we go. Okay, so that's how you do it. You put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Do I have another seam here? That's.
8,
How did that happen?
7 cuts. 7 cuts in order to outline this six-sided cube here, right? So that's a very simple object. And I hope that confused you a little, but I wanted to.
What? What's going on here? Oh, I didn't get this one. There we go. There we go. All right, I got it. I finally got it. We're there.
To demonstrate it on something a little simpler. So now we have our cup. Where on earth do we put these cuts? So imagine it's made of paper. If you want to lay it out flat, how on earth are you going to possibly do this? Well, you got to put some cuts in there, right? So the first thing is lengthways, like just cut it in half and rip it apart, right? So let's put a cut right here, okay? Doesn't really matter. I mean, you could put it anywhere, but where you put a cut, we'll get to this later with texturing, but you sometimes see a little visible seam. So it helps if you can put it next to something else that's going to hide it. So I'm putting it next to this handle. But anyway, so by the way, I'm holding down Alt and I'm left clicking on that, and I'm in edge select mode, which by the way, if you want a hotkey for switching between vertex, edge, or face, it's 1, 2, and 3 on your keyboard. You can get my shortcut PDF. Somebody should make a compilation video of every time I've referred people to my shortcut PDF. I want a supercut version of that. But anyways, okay, so I've selected that. Control E, mark seam, okay? By the way, selecting everything, you can see part of it is UV unwrapped, but that's because it was originally a cylinder. But this is almost certainly completely wrong now that we've done all this modeling. So now I'm gonna hit U, then select unwrap. Haha, so we have something. It's trying to stretch it out. It's doing a weird sort of job, but yeah, it's coming along okay. Now,
Yes.
Would you like some lunch?
Yeah, I'll be done. Are you eating right now?
I'm getting ready to. It's almost finished.
About 20 minutes?
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, it's up to you.
Yeah, let me finish this.
Okay.
Right.
this part down here is our handle, right? This part here. And that looks really, really wrong. Now, there's nothing that says the UV, these are called UV islands. There's nothing that says it has to be one single piece. The cube, we did it in one piece, but it could be as many pieces as you want. There's different ideas of like if you're trying to save for texture space and blah, blah, blah. You can get really deep into the weeds on that. But the point is we can just cut this off, like make this its own separate object, which is often a better idea when you've got like different types of geometry that don't really blend in together or fit. You just cut them off and make them separate objects. So I'm cutting that off by hitting Control E, mark seam, and do that. Okay, so this.
Let me do that. Why is it doing that? Stop. Clicking. Yeah, I am. Ray not on? X-ray's not on. That's what it is. Wow. Let's see how many wrong things I can select. Okay, now I get to start over. Wow. Holy crap. And then when I zoom in to deselect something, I just get something else that's in the background. That is ridiculous. There we go. That's just as bad as Revit. Alright, so let's mark that as a seam. Unwrap. It's kind of the same.
This is our handle here. Now, our handle doesn't need to be UV unwrapped because, I mean, there's not going to be any condensation in it. But if we were, we could put a seam right here. So I could just put a seam right down the middle there, unwrap, and now you can see this is our handle, right? So you can see how it's starting to like peel it and flatten it out so it looks recognizable, right? By the way, when we hit U, you can see there's something down there that says object has non-uniform scale, which means it will operate on a non-scale version. Basically means this is becoming distorted because if we hit N for Nelly to open up the properties, you can see that we've got underneath scale, these two values here aren't as 1, okay? So in order to make them 1, we need to apply our scale. So if we hit Control A in object mode only, Control A, scale, you can see these have been reset to 1. And now when we do this, you should see this will change a little bit. There you go. Not properties, you can see that we've got underneath scale, these two values here aren't as 1, okay? So in order to make them 1, we need to apply our scale. So if we hit Control A in object mode only, Control A, scale, you can see these have been reset to 1. And now when we do this, you should see this will change a little bit. There you go. Not much. Two values here aren't as 1, okay? So in order to make them 1, we need to apply our scale. So if we hit Control A in object mode only, Control A, scale, you can see these have been reset to 1. And now when we do this, you should see this will change a little bit. There you go. Not much. Sometimes it's drastic, but if you ever see that warning, you basically need to apply the scale and UV unwrap it so that it works properly. It's an annoying bug, honestly. Almost a bug feature designed to work like that, I have no idea. But it is annoying. Like, of course, it has to be, you know, the scale has to be applied. I don't even know why it's doing the operation if the scale isn't applied. I don't know. Too much information. Anyway, all right. So we've got part of it working. You can see down here, like this is all connected together because right in the center of our cup, and let me just Alt Z so we can focus on it. And the clipping is way too close. So let's just there we go. So I need to, for each of these circles down here, I need to also make them seams, right? Those two circles. So Control E, mark seam, U, unwrap. Haha, so you can see that it's starting to open it up, like it's broken that apart because these circles are now able to be free and, you know, be off by themselves. Okay, now this weirdness is happening because, like, if this was a cylinder, this would be a lot easier because the lines would be straight and it would know what to do. But this is not a cylinder. This is like a tapered in thing. And there's not really an easy way to UV unwrap it that isn't going to end up with a shape like this. The old way that I used to fix this in like older versions of Blender was to try to like flatten it out because you can grab vertices over here, you can rotate them, you can scale them and try and, you know, make them flat. And I would try and make these grid shapes because like a grid flat square lines like that often looks a lot better and it's easier like to work with like a texture when we come to our condensation if these lines are like, if these are squares or at least uniform shapes than what they are currently. But there's not really an easy way to do it until I discovered that there is an add-on which does not come with Blender by default, but I'm putting a link to this in the description. It's called UV Squares. So if you enable this add-on, you enable it, then when you go to N for your properties down here, N for Nelly, you've got something called UV Squares. And then if you just select the mesh by hitting L, so you click any vertex or just anywhere in it, basically L, then if you hit to grid by shape, that will happen. Dun dun dun.
Wow.
So it's just magically converted all
That's
the way.
ridiculous.
It's actually like uniform. Like, yeah, it's tried to make a grid shape out of it based on what it had, and it's done a pretty dang good job. And
Yeah, it
now that
did.
I know that this add-on exists, I only just started using it probably for this, I don't know, like a couple of months. And it's already like, I don't know how I got by without it. So make sure you get that out on because it is a lifesaver. So now that we've done this, our job is complete. It's UV unwrapped adequately enough that we can at least start to see how something would look with a texture, and we can come back and fix this if needs be. But now that that is done, I'm going to go back to the layout section over here, and now we can apply a new material to just the inside of our glass here, which I believe is another first for this series. Unless I'm mistaken, we haven't talked about how to use multiple materials on one object, right? So our cup, we've got a material to it. It's called glass at the top there, but we want to keep glass. We want to keep the glass material on some parts of the glass, but the inside, specifically this like top part of the inside of our cup, we want to have a separate material to it that looks like condensation. So the way you add another material to the mesh when you've already got another material already on it is you click this little plus button, right, which is adding a new material slot. And with this new material, you could select an existing one in your scene. Oh look, I've already got one there because I'm re-recording this little bit. But anyways, you could add a new material or whatever. Now in our case, I want to reuse this glass material right here. So I'm going to select glass from the list here, and then I'm going to click this little button next to it to make it a single user, and I will call this condensation. Haha. Okay, now if we were to go into render view mode, you can see that nothing has changed, and nothing should change because we haven't assigned parts of the mesh to it, and also this is the exact same material as before. But let's just add, so that we can differentiate between the two, let's make this condensation material a red material so that we can visibly see it, okay? So right now nothing has changed because our material is still using just the top slot for our whole object here. So the way you make it use the second slot is by going into edit mode and then selecting parts of your mesh. Let's go solid view here, and then x-ray mode so that I can see it. You select parts of your mesh that you want to have the separate material to. So as I mentioned, we want parts of the inside, basically just above the liquid line here, on just the inside of the glass. So if we select our cup here, you can see that, oh, miraculously, look at that. Our mesh just happens to line up so perfectly with where the liquid ends. Almost like that was done deliberately. So I'm selecting that ring there by holding down Alt and left clicking, right? So you can do that along here. And then if you hold down Shift while you do it, you can select all those faces there. Okay, so I've got all the parts that I want to apply to this new material here called condensation. So the way you do it is by hitting that assign button there. Okay, now you only see that ring there by glass. So if we select our cup here,
So I got the first ring.
look at that. Our mesh just happens to line up so perfectly with where the liquid ends. Almost like that was done deliberately. So I'm selecting that ring there by holding down Alt and left clicking, right? So you can do that along here. And then if you hold down Shift while you do it, you can select all those faces there. Okay, so I've got all the parts that I want to apply to this new material here called condensation. So the way you do it is by hitting that assign button there. Okay, now you only see this, by the way, in edit mode. If you're in object mode, you don't see any assign button because you have to be in edit mode in order to assign something to it. Okay, so now that we've done that, if we go back to the rendered view mode,
In the wrong loop. I might have to do this one at a time. I also feel like maybe I've got two different surfaces showing up there. I'm not sure. Right, what did he do to assign?
okay, now you only see this, by the way, in edit mode. If you're in object mode, you don't see any assign button because you have to be in edit mode in order to assign something to it. Okay, so now that we've done that, if we go back to the rendered view mode, haha, look at this. It is working as expected. So this part here is.
I don't know what I'm doing wrong to. Is it because. Something else going on here. That's really weird. And then I need to select the ones on top. Material condensation, assign. All right, did we get it? Hey, we got it. Stop it.
Condensation on glass. It's like, yeah, like where there's different temperatures and it's making little bubbles form on the glass there. So as it just so happens to be, we have, I have a website which I created 3 years ago, full of textures which I've been promoting all throughout this series. You've seen at the start, I go, brought to you by Polygon, and I hand myself a wad of cash, as someone said. But basically, it's a bunch of different textures, and we're going to be using one of them. And it is this one right here. So this is a special texture that we made just for something like this. Like you've got raindrops on a window or you've got condensation. This is what we're going to use. So I put a link to this in the description. If you're watching this at the time we release it, you don't even have to sign up for a Polygon account. You can just download it because I haven't actually set this material as free. But if you're watching that after this material should be free. So you just have to sign up for a free account on Polygon and then you can download this for free. Now the only map that you actually need is the normals map. Normals 16-bit. Okay, so once you've got that, you can also change the resolution. If you want to go like super high res, you can. But honestly, 1K is going to be just fine. The higher resolution you go for makes no sense to you. I don't blame you. But anyways, download that. You'll get a zip file. You're going to unzip that zip file, and then you can continue with the rest of this. So with our condensation material there selected, we're going to go to the shading panel, which is enabling us to see, you know, the same detail as over here, but it's now putting it in node form, right? Which is helpful. So to add in the texture that we've just downloaded, we're going to hit Shift A, then go Texture, Image, Texture. And then I'm going to hit open, locate wherever it is that you have downloaded the texture to. So here it is, water droplets. And in that you'll see like a folder called regular, then the size 1K. So this is the material right here, normal 16. Doesn't matter what size is, whatever you've got, just click that. And then we're going to hit open image. Okay. So this, if we were to look at what this looks like, which we can do with the Node Wrangler add-on, the viewer thing, this is what it looks like, right? So this is bluish, weirdish. It's a purple looking texture, right? That's a normal map. A normal map always looks like this. It makes
What
no
did he
sense to
do?
do that. So this, if we were to look at what this looks like, which we can do with the hit open, locate wherever it is that you have downloaded the texture to. So here it is, water droplets. And in that you'll see like a folder called regular, then the size 1K. So this is the material right here, normal 16. Doesn't matter what size is, whatever you've got, just click that. And then we're going to hit open image. Okay. So this, if we were to look at what this looks like, which we can do with the Node Wrangler add-on, the viewer thing, this is what it looks like, right? So it's this bluish.
Sure. I mean, yeah. But how did you do that? With the Node Wrangler thing. How did we do that before? I felt it was just like control click.
Whatever you've got, just click that, and then we're going to hit open image. Okay, so this, if we were to look at what this looks like, which we can do with the Node Wrangler add-on, the viewer thing, this is what it looks like, right? So it's this bluish.
What? I know I've got Node Wrangler turned on. Node Wrangler. I think I've got Node Wrangler turned on. References. Oh my god. Add-ons. Node Wrangler. Yep, I've got that turned on. Shift W. That did not do what I thought it was going to do. Node editor toolbar. That's not what I wanted to do. Blender preview with node wrangler. Control spacebar. That definitely was not it. Control right mouse. Shift control right mouse. How come none of these are working? There we go, because it's left mouse. Jeez.
Weirdish. It's a purple looking texture, right? That's a normal map. A normal map always looks like this. It makes no sense to you as a human being, but to the computer goes, haha, I know what to do with this. Pretend that it's geometry and make it look, you know, like reflections and shadows and things. So it's a special type of material that basically doesn't cost anything when you render, but it adds detail in for free. And it's amazing, especially for something like this where you've got like little bubbles on the inside of a glass. You don't want to have to pay for that by modeling and sculpting all that stuff in. This is the perfect job for a normal map, okay? Now, the way that you use a normal map on our shader here is we want to take this
Wow.
normal map and we want to plug this into the normal input right here.
That was Revit crashing. Or not Revit. I'm so used to Revit crashing that I just said it was Revit crashing. That was Blender crashing. Donut. Wonder where the last place I saved was. Can I recover last session? How far did I get? Alright, well I get to redo that, right? Glass. New one. Call it condensation. White, because we know what we're doing now. We're gonna go here. Select them faces. Change. Let's do that so that I can do this a little bit easier. No, we don't want X-ray. But I do want to see it selecting the faces that I have. There we go. I think I'm just going to do it right. And we assign. All right, let's save before we go in here and do this. Shading. Excuse me. We can be out of object mode now. Put a new image texture in, and let's open our water droplets, and then we got that. Yes, we did. There we go. Save that. Then what is he throwing that into?
Plug it in, normal map like that. This would happen. Wrong. Never do it like that. well, that's the first bit. But between here and here, you have to add in a Shift A vector normal map. And this will convert the color into a normal map that the software can actually read. And you can see that it's now coming out almost correct. But before you proceed, you also have to set the color space for your normal map from sRGB to non-color. And you do that because it is a normal map. And because there is a bug in Blender 2.81, which I've yet to report, but I should, when we did that, nothing actually changed. It didn't refresh, it didn't change anything. So I'm just going to refresh that by unplugging it and plugging it back in. And now it is correct. So this is now using the correct input. Sorry, the correct values. And we now have condensation on the inside of our glass. But wait, it looks like somebody
Oh my goodness.
smeared Vaseline or lube or whatever it is, some sort of jellied substance. These droplets are way too big, okay? So this goes back to our UV unwrapping, okay? So if we go to the UV image editor, this is our mug, and this is the UV squares over the top of the image, okay? Now, if we go into look dev mode, this little button at the top there.
Hold on.
This
What?
is what it looks like, okay?
Mine's not doing that.
Or whatever it is, some sort of jellied substance. These droplets are way too big, okay? So this goes back to our UV unwrapping, okay? So if we go to the UV image editor, this is our mug, and this is the
No. No, it's not. Go.
UV squares over the top of the image.
Oh, I didn't unwrap anything. I gotta go unwrap everything too. Crap. Yep, let's go here. Oh man. Rid of the liquid. Where my liquid at? Unwrap, and I better get that warning. Yep. So I need to. UV squares. Yep, UV squares. That back online. And now should be able to grid to grid by shape. I don't know. Nope. To grid by shape. Just to grid by shape. Yeah. What did we also do? We also did this guy right here. Market seam. And I bet he's about to fix that anyway. All right, let's see what you do.
Okay. Now, if we go into look dev mode, this little button at the top there, this is what it looks like. Okay. Which, you know, it's not looking, it's using the Eevee renderer to preview the textures over it. It's not going to look exactly like the render, but it's close enough. You can see what it's doing to it. Okay. So if I was to increase the scale of this grid here by hitting S and then increasing that, you can see that these bubbles now become smaller, right? Because the grid is now occupying more space over the texture. Okay, now there's really only one part of this material that's actually being used, like it's just the top part of this ring here. We've got the whole mug here, but it doesn't matter, we're just gonna scale it all up. All this other stuff, the handle, the little circles down there that aren't being used, all the rest of the mug that's not being used, the texture is like, it's still showing it over in the UV image editor, but it's not being used anywhere because the material stack is using the glass, which has no texture on it everywhere else. So that's just sort of how this UV unwrapping thing works. Yeah, you'll get the hang of it. and select L to select that entire island there. And then you just want to scale this up until like the size looks okay. Now, one thing you'll note if you get right in here, you'll notice that the aspect ratio is a little bit off, okay? Because these things look like they're kind of being stretched that way. And when you have that problem, it just means that you have to stretch your UV squares in a different axis. So for one, I'm just going to rotate this like this. Actually, no, flip it.
We are
I'll make the
slow.
part with the mug, because I know that this is the part with the handle, because I can see there's that little line that's out of place. So I know that's the handle. This is the part that'll be like, so now it's actually like accurate to the rotation of it. It doesn't really matter, but it just helps me think about it. So I know this is the part of the mug, okay? Now that I've got this, if I scale, if I hit S and then X, I'm gonna be scaling along the X axis. And when I do that, you can see that these droplets now become the shape that they should be, which is mostly circular, like not being stretched in any particular direction. You won't get it, I mean, you might not ever get it perfectly lined up, but it doesn't matter. It just has to look close enough, right? Close enough to the image over there. And that's pretty good. Okay, so almost at the end, check it out. Ha 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 ha. There we go. So if you want bigger or smaller bubbles, then, you know, tweak it. If you want really small bubbles, go like that. And if you want bigger bubbles, go like that. And honestly, it could really go either way. Condensation's just kind of does its own thing. Sometimes you get the little tiny little bubbles on like a Coke can, and sometimes you get the big bubbles that are like rippling out of it. So it's really, you know, however you want it to look. One thing I do want to change though is in the shading tab, right? This normal map here is converting our map into a bumpy thing that the shader can use, but it's also giving a strength to it. And out of the gate, it's set to 1, which is fine, and it works for most droplet things. But you can, like these, basically it's like making the bulbous shape of it. So setting it to 1 is like these droplets are pretending to be huge, right? So, and I say pretending because there's no geometry data there. It's fakery so that the shader treats it like there is geometry. Anyway, if I turn this down though, you can see that I get a completely different effect. I get something that looks like, yeah, like what you would actually see on a glass, right? Not something that's like sticking out, like looking really weird and whatever. Point 2, I find just looks a little bit nicer for something like this. And there we go, guys. We did it. The final part. We did it. Well done, guys. Thank you for watching this level. As something to finish on that is a little fun. I mean, it's not really that fun. It's not even really that interesting. But I figure why not? Because I know in the earliest donut series, at the end of each video, I did like here's something cool just to keep you interested.
Let's make this look nice. Before I move on. Yeah, that looked much better. Kind of. Still a little big, aren't they? Yeah, I feel better about that.
Let's pretend you want to make a stack of plates, because that is a pretty common thing when you're making a kitchen. We got one plate here. How do you make a stack? You could duplicate them, Shift-E, Shift-E. You could even hit Shift-R after making one plate, and that will like repeat the previous action, right? But turns out there's an add-on, a modifier just for this, and it's called the array modifier. I'm only doing this is just for fun, guys. You don't have to follow this if you don't want to. So with the array, this is basically taking an axis, and it's creating more and more versions of it along that axis. So the axis is currently set to X. If I set that to 0, and instead I make this one down here, which is instead the vertical axis. If I make that 1, you can see we now have a stack of plates, and I can change how close they are together by dialing that in, and we now have a stack of creating more and more versions of it. Turns out there is an add-on, a modifier just for this, and it's called the array modifier. I'm only doing this is just for fun, guys. You don't you don't have to follow this if you don't want to. So with the array, this is basically taking an axis, and it's creating more and more versions of it along that axis. So the axis is currently set to X. If I set that to 0, and instead I make this one down here, which is the Z, the vertical axis. If I make that 1, you can see we now have a stack of plates, and I can change how close they are together by dialing that in, and we now have a stack of plates intersecting with our cup, and it looks like some weird art that you would see at a modern gallery. I went to one in Tokyo just the other week, and yeah, this feels right at home. This would fit into their gear. Thanks, guys.
I'm going over to your mom's house to get veggies and run a few errands.
Okay.
Your potato is in the potato bag, and the chili is on the counter.
Safe.
Challenge. Some people have said like, this is too easy. Give me something hard. That's what she said. No. Then you should model a spoon. Model a spoon or a fork or something like that. And we're going to put it on this saucer here, or you can add it to the donut when we get to the donut. In level 3, we're going to be combining, and that's going to be the final level, level 3. The final, and that'll be the donut with the coffee against a brick purple wall. We'll do a little bit of animation. We'll do a final render, a little bit of compositing, and create that final image there. So if you're ready for that, go ahead and click here. But if you are watching this live as I upload them, there will be probably a week or two before the next level starts. But thank you for waiting, and share this with a friend if you found it useful. Thanks, guys. See you in the next video. Welcome back to...
Let's render this, and I think I'm done. Appreciate everyone who stuck around. No questions or anything. No suggestions on what to work on. Oh well. I think I need a new graphic card. My poor 780 is just even. I wonder how hard it would be to add just a little bit of like vapor or smoke right here. I just want to see. Quick steam blender. Blender 3D. Add steam. Not much different from before, is it? So I'm curious. What would I do? I want to, I don't know how this works. So we're experimenting at this point, right? That's fun. Experimenting. Take this ring right here. I'm going to duplicate it. Selection, add a face. Add a face? I don't know. Steam. Nope. Just kidding. Wow, what did it just do? Huh. Do I have an extra plate here? What is this craziness right here? I do have an extra... Oh, I duplicated that plate earlier. Okay. So now I don't know where I am on this. I think I just need to... Shift D. Right click. P to separate by selection. Know where what I have selected is. There it is right there. Now I want to go edit that. Object mode. Edit mode. Ah. I just want this. There we go. Select, add a face. There we go. And I think add a modifier. Add particle. Physics properties, particle. No, I want to add a modifier. Nope. What is it? It was particles, add. Oh, it didn't add it to the thing. Okay, let's delete that. Go back to this. This is going to be smoke. On this, we want to much smaller. Bring it down. Much mini smaller. Bring it down. Let's scale it out. No, let's do everything but that. Let's just there. Down. There we go. Instead of render right now, let's do all right. So I've got that. I think this just needs to, maybe that face just needs to go away. Or maybe the face just needs to be deleted. Let's stop playing. So, I see no smoke. Set that too fast. Well, I had it working. And we just decided we don't want to work. Why you no work? Is it working and I just don't see it? Let's delete this and start it over. Oh, is it because I got rid of the face? That's interesting. I got rid of the face. I don't see the bounding box for this at all. Okay, so let's maybe try and see. Like physics tab. Okay. There we go. All right, so here's what I think we're gonna do. Let's add that face back in. Or not. That. Jeez. Almost like that whole thing is gone. Like somehow that my like there's no geometry in here now. Yeah, I think that's what's happened. Okay, so yeah, let's delete that. Like we gotta go back in here now. Smoke. Right, and let's see now. Can I add quick effect smoke? Whoa, that's interesting. In there, in order for this to work. Okay. Don't see any. Let's get rid of. I think we can get rid of the subdivisions too. Right, that still works. All right, well, oh, there's some smoke. There's some vapor rising up. want it to be a little bit slower. Through, and hopefully it will recalculate. That seemed like it was a lot faster. Okay. Let's go in here and see what happens. I wonder, can I turn this off? If I turn that off, do I still get? Yeah, I do. Oh man, but then what happened to? Oh no. I think I know what happened. Let's see. Materials. Condensation still there? Or did I delete it? Delete it. I deleted it. Okay, well I can fix that real quick. Let's go glass. Change that. Okay, condensation. Still showing the material correctly. Weird. Right? Isn't that weird? It's not just me, is it? Texture, image texture. Did it retain it? Hey, you did. It'll render the simulation for this theme. Oh no, it rendered the plane. How do I turn the plane off? Oh, stop. How do I turn that plane off in rendering? How do I hide an object in rendering? Maybe we do this. No, I didn't want to do that. We want to How many times do I have to learn how to do this? There, Alt P is what it is. Then how do I move it from a group? Yeah, but it's still rendering it. There's a column that I'm missing here. Not render something. Oh shoot. Oh yeah, we don't want that. What if there's no material on this? Still gonna render as solid. Yeah, it did. Okay. Blender, don't render object. So view. I know that there's a way to. There we go. Table and renders. Guy right here. I think that's what I want. Find my frame rate. Good. I'm just gonna look and see if we can find any deals on 1080 G. G. What about they're still stupid expensive? No sense. Ti would be an upgrade. And a 1080 is more expensive than a like 3070. Why does that make sense? Doesn't. Pretty sure it doesn't make any sense. 2070. I feel like if I'm gonna spend that much money on a card, I might as well just get a 30. Let it denoise. Hey, it denoised. Alright. Did it finish denoising? Wow. Come on, mouse. And then I guess if I wanted to, I could make this interesting. It's yes, because it doesn't have a solid, I can't do smoke and fire. Oh well, I'm not going to worry about that. This has been good enough. Thank you all for joining me. And hopefully next time we won't have quite as much of an issue with technology before we start streaming. Next Monday Funday. If you have any suggestions on what you'd like to see me work on, go ahead and submit them in the comments or on Discord. And we'll take a look at those. But I am still working towards that goal of using Blender BIM for documentation and modeling. So this gets us kind of closer to that. Actually, I guess there's one more level of this. I might work on this between now and then, but we'll see. Thanks for joining me. Have a great one. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.